time to crown a champion here at the 2025 Division III College Championship in the women's division. A heavyweight battle, the 1 and 2 seed going at it. Wesleyan Vicious Circles taking on the Haverford Bryn Mawr Sneeches. Field 1 joined with Kelsey Percy and Danny Proby for this great battle. Going for the trophy will be the first time for either side.
This is a big one, Theo. This is the matchup we were hoping for. These are two fantastic teams, locked into their systems, high athleticism. I'm excited.
Yeah, we have one team that likes to preference a little bit more zone junk looks and another team that likes to grind person. So we're going to see everything happening on the field today.
Both teams are going to have to give it their all as they look for that illustrious first championship. The players are definitely pumped up as they did their player intros, a special edition for the finals here. As we take a look at how both teams got here, looking at the top of the bracket, the 1 seed drawing the upstart Lewis and Clark Artemis squad and winning by a very healthy margin, whereas the Sneeches of Haverford Bryn Mawr having to squeak out a tight victory over the Middlebury Pranksters.
We had some good semifinals matchups. Wesleyan really overpowering Lewis and Clark. And you've got to ask, have they been tested enough to deliver at this point here? Haverford Bryn Mawr a much tougher path to the finals.
And so the Sneeches played Middlebury Pranksters, and it was a tough, tight-fought match where they're getting to build their confidence, make big plays in a big stage, and show their grit and determination.
Middlebury was a good one, an athletic team, a team that had playmakers, and Haverford Bryn Mawr answered with plays of their own.
Looking on the Wesleyan side, they're full of a bevy of stars, but it's highlighted by number 6 Milo Brown. They're going to be an integral part of this team's offense. Has been named to the U24 mixed team this coming cycle, and has also been on the U20 team in the past, winning a gold medal last summer.
Milo Brown is an absolute playmaker, someone who can be counted on to play locked down defense on the toughest matchups and then turn around and strike for a score. Milo Brown, someone that this team trusts and depends on, but not the only, very much one of an arsenal of weapons that this team will be depending on in their path towards victory.
Looking on the other side, they got a baller of their own. That's Zoe Costanza of Haverford Bryn Mawr. Look at that triple-double right there. Goals, assists, and blocks all over double digits for Zoe Costanza. Had to play a little bit more in the backfield with some of the seniors missing on day 1. But coming to day 2, especially yesterday, was a big threat downfield for the Sneeches.
Costanza is a Donovan Award finalist, leadership, consistent play, absolutely leading this team to this final, making big blocks, big scores, you name it, all over the field.
And something we want to note, Costanza was the only senior that skipped graduation, showed up here, played the first day, helped lead this team to dominating their pool. But now Haverford Bryn Mawr has all their seniors present. They have legs, they have energy, they trust each other, and they're ready to take it to the number 1 seed, Wesleyan.
Both teams, a path that includes some undefeated records out here. And so, Kelsey, you mentioned being battle tested. It'll be curious to see what the Sneeches decide to put onto this Wesleyan side, because that semifinals we talked about, 15-2, so really not tested, at least in that contest.
Yeah, it's been an interesting one. These were definitely, I think, 2 of the heavy favorites coming into this tournament. A lot of teams looking forward to these matchups, but also maybe experiencing some fear and self-doubt because these teams have been so dominant throughout. You know, Wesleyan has faced this team before and persevered, so they believe that they can win this game. Haverford Bryn Mawr will have to have that own belief inside themselves.
And we know that they do believe in themselves. They've been spending a lot of time talking about their approach to this game and how they're going to take it to Wesleyan. They did lose a couple times earlier in the year, but they are a completely different team.
Wesleyan's path, talking with their head coach and only coach, Keith Rayner, before the game. They had to kind of tighten the lines in their matchup against Davenport and were able to eke out the win by 1, 11-10. And then, of course, a quarterfinal that was on this showcase field handily won 15-7 as they opened the bench a little bit there. And then, of course, the aforementioned 15-2 victory. Whereas for the Sneetches, look at that quarterfinal score. An opponent they faced in the past. They got by Mount Holyoke Daisy Chain in quarters by 11. And then, of course, that battle that had some physicality to it, that Middlebury matchup. There were some cards given out. Still a healthy amount of spirit as well, but definitely a bit more of a physical contest.
You know, Theo, I asked you, were there more cards in the women's semifinal than the men's? Men's semifinal, one of them very chippy, and yet the spirit was really high. It was just this agreement to play at this extremely intense physical level. I absolutely loved it. It was an incredible game. Watch that one back.
Watch that one, of course, after this game, because we got this heavyweight battle coming at you. Haverford, Bryn Mawr going to come out on offense. Zoe Costanza on the line, and a couple Nicholsons out there. Sonia Nicholson and Celia Nicholson both missing due to graduation on the first day. Were back yesterday, made an instant impact for the team. As Scout Noble going to pull for Wesleyan. Noble and Brown. That's Milo Brown are on this line right now. Maggie Brown also on this team will play on the other side of the disc. Kind of two-pot system. Laura Morton working with Phoebe Hulbert right now. A couple players coming to the air, including Erica Collin. Stall count rising, looking for Collin, but it's batted down. Great defensive pressure from Susanna Cornell.
Cornell, definitely a player that Wesleyan is going to be leaning on. They had an excellent matchup, a player that went down to injury who had just taken Collin out during the season. Cornell having to step up into that space to provide that defensive pressure.
Laura Jacobson turning around as this O-line for the Siege is playing zone. Noble looking deep. Hulbert swats it down.
And this is kind of what we've seen, Theo, in the beginning of games in these high-intensity semifinals. We saw it across the board. This first point, not uncommon to see a couple of turns. It's really hard to hold cleanly the very first point of nationals. The nerves are there, the intensity is high. Then they get those out and begin to play.
Great cut from Collin to get free there. Gonna love that Cornell-Collin matchup. Morton up the line. Has Costanza going deep. Costanza almost there. We know Costanza's gonna make big layouts.
I'm loving these matchups, Theo. We're seeing, again, that athleticism on display for both teams, the heads up. But remember, conditions a little damp, rained pretty hard last night, and we do have a breeze.
Noble looking for an option, finding Milo Brown.
Haverford, Bryn Mawr talked about their zone. They're proud of it. They think it's very effective. They're going to play it a lot.
Collins in the deep space, don't want to test number 64. Nice grab from Morton. That throw was a little high. And same high throw, taken away by Cornell, playing great defense right now for Wesleyan. 5 turnovers total on this first point of the women's final.
You can see feet slipping and sliding. The grass is damp. The wind is brisk, and it's going to cause these kind of almost unforced errors. The weather, the 8th man on the field.
Sonia Nicholson thought about the huck. But it's Costanza making the clap catch. Hulbert going up the line. Instead, it's a reset to Morton. Morton looking for Costanza once again, but into the turf.
They can't help but want to throw near Costanza. If Costanza's running to the end zone, it seems like it's this magnetic pull that they will put the disc no matter what.
I would love to see them actually throw away from Costanza. I think Costanza creates a really good vacuum effect, and I'd love for them to go to that second option that I think will have a more favorable matchup.
Short field turnover here as the Sneetches driving their red zone offense. Sonia Nicholson had a great game against Middlebury going up the line, but there's a pick call. And then Hulbert loses the disc.
Turn will stand.
That will be a turnover. Cornell has it. We'll see if a couple players can come and join her. Now in the hands of Noble.
You know how we feel about swings. What do swings do, Danny?
Swings win games.
I thought defense wins championships, but
And also hammers win games. I mean, a lot of things can win you a game.
that is true.
But swings make coaches happy.
Including catches like that can win you a game.
That's Milo Brown. Player to watch. You see why pumped up right now is Brown.
Huge, huge point for Wesleyan. And the athleticism you expect to see Brown, we're going to see more of that. What a way to start this game.
Now the Sneetches were starting on offense in that point, and they were able to set, even though they're on offense, they're able to set a zone against Wesleyan here. And normally that's a great strategy when you're playing against another team's D-line's offense, but at this tournament, the same players are usually double shifting, they're playing both sides, and Wesleyan had no problem hitting the nice pockets in that zone, kind of knifing these nice forehands around and scoring in the end.
Well, and that's one of the things we've seen about the depth of this Wesleyan team, right? They have great throwers on both lines without even having to cross over. And so when they choose to, everyone's a great thrower.
Some new players on for the Vicious Circles, but some holdovers from the previous point in Susanna Cornell and Milo Brown. So we were told that there will be some crossing over. Wesleyan, with their path, they haven't had to go as tight in the rotation. Certainly curious to see what happens as this final progresses. Brown with the pull. This day had 12 assists, and now that is blocked, run through by Maggie Brown. Nat Sweet, a Donovan finalist in her own right, set to pick up.
You know, Theo, one of the things I'm seeing from the get-go, Wesleyan seems to have a more focused energy. I'm not saying Haverford Bryn Mawr doesn't have energy. Both teams out here, but more focused, more dialed in, more ready for this moment.
Down inside, looking for Canutas Nadil. But that will hit the turf, and a break chance averted right now for the Sneetches. Horizontal stack. Costanza in the backfield for this point. I think Celia Nicholson. Celia looking for the sibling, but it's blocked by Mac Bunnell. Couple turnovers from this Haverford Bryn Mawr offense as they're looking to settle in here. Often you see teams needing a couple points to get their legs and throws under them. They did have a lot of warm-up time, both teams did, and were able to settle in on the showcase field. Saw the Sneetches do some visualization as well before the game as a team. That throw too low, looking for Bunnell.
You know, and I loved how Collins put her head down and immediately ran. Cornell still frustrated with herself, but a good help on the mark and a good recovery there.
Run through block. Brown looking to shoot right away. The southpaw. Looking for Canutas Nadel. See if there's going to be a foul call on Phoebe Hulbert. But that will not be the case. Hulbert, this is back and forth action in the final. Sweet getting the block.
Sweet recently back from injury. That's a huge value add for Wesleyan.
Bunnell amidst two players. Able to bring that one in. Trying to go for a second straight break to start this game. Brown, Maggie Brown looking for Milo Brown, but it's Rufus Helmreich.
With a little redemption run through D. You know, and let me say, Theo, I don't think these are bad throws, bad options. This is just pressure. Both defenses really clamping down, committing complete effort, and it's kind of that case of who's going to flinch first.
Sweet second block of the point. Funnel. Hyde Cornell going to the front cone. Instead it's over to Sweet. Maggie Brown finds Canutas Nadill for a second straight point. It's 2-0.
And the first break belongs to Wesleyan. Second break belongs to Wesleyan. They are pouring it on here in the first. Haverford Bryn Mawr has to be reeling inside. And this is where that question of have they been tested really comes into play. You know, so many of these teams, when they are dominant, when they lead the whole way, do they know how to handle themselves when they're in these moments? And that's where I believe in Haverford Bryn Mawr, because they have already been down to Wesleyan before. Now they need to recenter on themselves, focus, and come back in and be ready to play. Only 2 points in.
It doesn't seem like one team is super strong, much stronger than the other team. Both teams are playing great defense, making big cuts, making big plays. Things are going a little bit more Wesleyan's way right now. I think that both teams haven't experienced this kind of pressure yet, both psychologically and also physically on the field. The defense is tight, the throws are tight. Expect them to settle down in a few minutes.
You know, we mentioned a little bit, Danny and Theo, how, especially that first point, feet were, flying out from under people, discs were sailing. Check out why. 21 miles per hour plus gusts, still chilly. We're not in the downpour that was pool play, but these are adverse conditions for players where they're having to fight through, stay warm on the sidelines, hit the ground running when they're on the field. It's a challenge, and they'll need to adjust their throws and really dial in. And even more than that, we talked about this yesterday, Danny, be really scrappy and tenacious in picking up the trash.
Absolutely.
There are opportunities. They need to go after them. And it's always that follow-up play, not just who the throw was for, but the next closest person needs to swarm.
You see Sneetches there trying to keep themselves pumped up. So much about dancing and cheering can really help you stay in the game, and they're doing a really great job of trying to maintain that level of hype and that fun and that playfulness on the field.
Kelsey and Danny, both of you are coaches, and both of you know the importance of the third point when there's a 2-0 run like this. So I think a really important timeout from the Sneetches there, as they're trying to settle things down, playing a lot of the similar players that were on the last 2 points, including Costanza, the Nicholsons, and Phoebe Hulbert.
Yeah, a 3-0 lead feels almost like insurmountable in the moment, but a 2-1 lead feels like you're right in that game. So I totally agree, Theo. It is a pivotal hold for them right now.
And you can see the energy rising for both sides as they understand the importance of this point. Of course, each point means the same, but certainly this one feels a little bit more important right now with the momentum going the way of the vicious circles.
And you can see kind of top right of your screen, there's a big support for Wesleyan.
Sonia Nicholson helping stop the bleeding with a huge throw to Anya Kottman to get on the board.
And the sidelines explode onto the field. You could feel, Danny, you talked about that tension. That felt like a really big point. They've broken through. They've cracked the ice, as it were. We've got a game.
Yeah, if you're Wesleyan going into that point, you're feeling confident. 2 breaks to start a game is pretty great, but then when a team is able to answer back immediately with a play like that, that just feels crisp, clean. Okay, we're here. No worries. We're going to be fine. We're in this game.
We've talked about the importance of that psychological moment. Again, especially the longer a point is, the more you trade back and forth, there's such cost of energy that it feels like that point was really important to win. And if you can just erase the memory of it with a quick hold.
The psychological battles are such a big part of every game, but especially a college ultimate game, especially a college ultimate final. So if you are able to answer back after a grindy point where it didn't go your way with crisp, clean offense, it's just the best response.
Danny, do you ever make cerebral cortex connection jokes with your team, with the players
Should
you
I?
coach? I think you have. More on that later. One day you too will be able to be capable of rational thought.
I make many jokes, so none like that.
You got to put in the tool belt, Danny, is what I'm hearing.
Emotional regulation, it's tough at this age. You can just be overrun, and so practicing that is crucial for these big moments.
Nora Jacobson allowing the throw to Skipper and eventually find the hands of Scout Noble. Often you can see that result in a turnover here. Ash Tanamura on the mark as now that has switched over to Celia Nicholson. Zone look from the team in white out of Haverford, Pennsylvania. Looking deep, but who's there? But Erica Collin, the ex-volleyball player, spiking it down, looking like they're on the hardwood.
I loved that. That wasn't just a, okay, we got the D and we are here, let's go. That was almost a like, pump it up for the team.
Could have caught the disc, but decided to just spike it down. Tanamura bobble, but caught. Keeping things moving. Avery Hyde had the disc momentarily as now there's a pick call.
Pick call.
Going back to Colin, made that block. Played 4 years on the St. Olaf volleyball team. Was also on the Vortex squad and a second-team All-American last year. Bringing a lot of experience, but that disc gonna invade the hands of the aforementioned Colin.
Currently there is a person open somewhere because Collins went down and Helmerich picked up.
Sweet, just outside the end zone. Reset to Noble. Noble going around. Platt lost the footing a little bit, and good spirit shown from Avery Hyde to Amelia Platt. Rufus Helmreich to pick up Rookie of the Year All-Region this year out of the Ohio Valley. Instant impact they have been for this team. Tanamura coming under. Now there's kind of a push in the lane with Noble, and that has been erased as Colin rising up with two hands.
Loving this Collins.
Colin looking up the line for Helmreich, but too far. That was Cornell on the mark, perhaps making things a bit difficult.
You know, and that's what I'm saying. Loving this Collins-Cornell matchup. The length, the effort, these are great for both.
Noble has a very open receiver, but it's because there was a pick. That was Maggie Brown. Told 2 years older than sibling Milo Brown, so the Browns on this team bring a lot of experience over from being on the U20 squad.
Don't watch now, but the stack is so deep. Brown doing a nice job of closing that space.
Sweet, thought about the hammer. Has Noble going up the line. And we'll continue things forward over to Amelia Platt. Second assist for Scout Noble.
First time we've really talked about Platt. Platt was pivotal in the semifinal. And just a really important athlete that can close in these red zone spaces.
Now, even though Haverford Bryn Mawr were not able to convert on this break chance, they start with this zone look right away. And so if we play it a little longer, we have a lot of people shoulder checking the backfield. Pause here. So a lot of people are actually picking up players and are aware, and you put someone super athletic in this middle spot, it makes it really, really challenging. So if you keep playing it, you put your best deep defender. There's kind of not a lot that these teams can do. So they do a nice trap. They're able to kind of work through it, but then sometimes with the zone, you get a little amped up, you get a little impatient, and then you try making a shot like this, and you have your best deep defender waiting to just volleyball spike that into the ground.
That was Erica Collin. And Platt wasn't able to bring in the score. That throw angling out of bounds, but got a second opportunity and was able to cash in on that one.
And I love that red zone flow into the end zone. They set up their cuts well. They had a big, wide lane to throw into. That's exactly, if you're Wesleyan, what you want to see.
Almost a run-through block from Maggie Brown, but they can go out to the races. Is Morton and Hulbert. Sonia Nicholson had Costanza going deep. Canutas Nadil drawing that matchup. And a turnover. Canutas Nadil getting involved. Not sure who that was intended for from Maggie Brown, but it will settle into the grass.
You know, Keith, and I love a fast break. I adore a fast break. I think players should do it, but I think one of the best things that fast break does is it clears out the under space for a next short range throw. You don't have to throw at the deep target.
Sonia Nicholson always loading up that flick right here. And underneath it, Costanza. Costanza been a bit quiet so far. It's only been a few points, of course, but certainly you're going to see 45 get involved. Big drive from Anya Kottman. Two players sort of in the area, but neither able to bring it in.
Now we're seeing both sides be a little hasty with their throws and trying to attack this space. I think we've talked about in longer points, there is this sense of like, I just want to end it. I want to wrap it up, and that's almost when you need to slow it down a little bit more and be more cautious, more deliberate, more possession-centered.
Canutas Nadel evades Hulbert. And that's Cornell going deep. That will work out for the Vicious Circles, their third break of the contest.
Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
Now I know you talked about that end zone and wishing that people would be a little bit less kind of green light. Something I do talk about with my athletes when I'm coaching is that when you have a lot of field to work with, the light is greenest. When you have in more middle field, we go more yellow light. But when you're in these end zone sets, you got to be red light. You got to make sure everything's 100%. Otherwise, you're going to end up kind of creating, you could see the devastation on their faces a little bit with that one, but it allows for another team to just march all the way back. They've got that green light. They can chuck it all the way and make great breaks like this.
And tell you what, the fans are packing in, voices are raised, and it adds to the moment. You know, big breaks like this, the sidelines are going nuts. And sometimes it can be tough to hear yourself think, but then there's that electricity in your body that just raises you to do great things.
Absolutely, the environment here, the atmosphere, it's feeling a little old school ultimate. Sometimes now in finals, we're in a stadium, it feels a little impersonal, but everyone's crowding the fields. We've got people lining, we've got people cheering, we've got cowbells, we've got it all.
Absolutely love it. And you know what? One of my favorite things about that score, that last point, we're looking at Canutas Nadel there, and the breath. Before he released that throw, took a breath and made sure that she didn't put it out to space until her cutter had gotten far enough that it wouldn't be outthrown.
Eleanor Wheeler trying to put on the wheels there, but the throw a tad too far. Great effort from number 13.
I really like the look at that throw. It was right into space, one-on-one receiver. I think 9 times out of 10, I think they can connect on that.
Also, you talked about the energy. This is the only game on the complex as we look behind ourselves. So certainly teams are wrapping up their consolation play, ready to take in this women's final and the men's final to follow after that. So once again, as Danny alluded to, great atmosphere, old school, as we talked about. The semifinals had a great one yesterday as well.
This is the big show.
Getting things from Milo Brown. It is certainly the big show as they're trying to put on another break train. Are the Vicious Circles. They had 2 to start this contest. Now they sit 4-1 with 3 breaks total. Canutas Nadel finding Bunnell.
Wesleyan just carving through this defense, and you can see Haverford Bryn Mawr release to Person.
Canutas Nadel is a very open Nat Sweet, still there. And we'll find them for the score. And another break for this Wesleyan side. Wow.
Everything seems to be going Wesleyan's way right now. We see very, very hyped up fans. Everyone's feeling the love. Everyone's feeling the energy right now. Sneetches need to find a way to regroup to get themselves back into this game.
You know, Danny, and you've coached in some really big moments. When you take a punch to the teeth like that, what are you saying to your players? How do you respond in that moment? Where do you want them focusing?
It's so easy to think about the environment, so easy to think about the other team, the cheers are maybe not going your way, or your frustrations with yourself or your teammates. The thing you need to remember is that you're here with your best friends, you're here with people that you've kind of gone through the meat grinder with all year long. Remember to have fun, cheer. As soon as you loosen up and you relax, things start going your way. And you know, College Ultimate, more than any other version of Ultimate, these runs, they're possible. So you're never out until it's over.
I'm going to harken back yesterday to the men's semifinal, Lewis and Clark versus Carleton. Lewis and Clark in control, up 4 at one point, and Carleton brought it back to within 1. And you could almost taste that fear before Lewis and Clark shut the door. And that's exactly what it looks like. These runs are possible. Both these teams have the athletes, have the strategies, have put in the work. A lot of game left to play.
Noble pulling here for the vicious circles as another offensive point for the Sneetches. Helmreich looking deep again, but it's covered. Canutas Nadil has been on that Costanza matchup pretty much all game, and in my opinion has won that so far. And really mitigating the impact of 45 in white, as we mentioned on the top, triple-double to Costanza's name, but minimal impact so far. Low throw, Maggie Brown tapping the chest saying my bad, as Costanza immediately with the disc looking for Helmreich. Elevation with 2 hands, they needed that one. Second score of the game for the Sneetches.
Sometimes all it takes is one player to make a big play, one player to elevate over some defenders to kind of make your team feel like you can still do this.
You know, and Danny, one of the things I want to highlight, I kind of want to give Helmreich a bookends on that point, because Helmreich's mark and the agility of it really shut down Noble's inside look that Noble has had all tournament long. Forced to go outside to Maggie Brown. The cut that Noble was trying to throw to, then Maggie Brown made that throw, but it was a little late. It was a little outside, a little forced, and then Helmreich immediately striking and going up big for that score.
Funny you say that, because one of the things that I did notice in the last couple points that the Sneetches have been able to do is flatter marks, and I have not seen enough flat marks for my liking at this tournament in general.
Yes.
And I found that the inside-out shots are just way too available, way too easy, and it breaks apart a team's defense, and the team can just kind of march all the way through. So the flatter marks are putting a lot more pressure. It's everything.
Wesleyan men's team niche factor in the house. But I do see a lot of green in the stands, I will say, from where we're sitting. There's a lot of green in the stands cheering for the Haverford Mid-Mar Sneetches.
Hey, Theo, don't look now. Helmreich crossed over.
Okay, Helmreich and Costanza out on the field. Colin, of course, going to take that Susanna Cornell matchup. Benton finding Maggie Brown. Brown's throw. Gobbled with 2 hands by Kayla Harrison. They have it inside, looking for Maggie Brown. But who else but Costanza's there with the block.
And maybe, Theo, this is the secret sauce. They needed to hold so they could get Costanza on defense. Costanza has been fire on that more aggressive side of the game.
A lot of big physical play there in the contest against Middlebury in the semifinals. That 14-11 victory. Kind of Moore's not there, but Helmreich for support. Looking to the end zone. Anya Cotman almost there. That would have been a huge break. But they have Wesleyan gonna have to work the full 70.
You know, I love that shot, Theo. I think it was to the right space, to the right matchup, had a lot of touch. I'll echo what Danny said, like a lot of times that's going to work, and those are the shots they need to take. Acceptable risk, especially to put Wesleyan on their own end zone line.
Nice grab, often overrated or underrated skill, I should say, going to the disc. We've seen Wesleyan get a couple run through Ds as their offensive players not running through the disc. Brown has Cornell. Not sure who's checking Cornell. Can't leave them open. Now Collins settling in on the mark. All is called.
Felt a bit fast.
Yeah, it seems fast.
So do we want to play as a contested stall, or do we want to come to me for ruling?
Can I come to you?
Sure. My ruling, no stall, so we'll be here on stalling 1.
This yesterday, but name a more iconic duo. Stall down call with a fast count. They're always paired together. I said this yesterday too, actually the strategy is to slow down at 9-10, because then it makes it a lot harder to get that fast count off.
Maggie Brown under the pressure of Celia Nicholson. Sweet calling a foul on Costanza, running through on the underneath cut.
Danny, I know the folks back home can't see your face because we're looking at the game, but I saw your face.
It's a great face.
A little bit of surprise at that call, but we've both talked about how fast things happen.
I feel different if you're both going up at the same
I think it's very important for everyone to understand that we have the benefit of slow-mo. We have the benefit of seeing it. They just feel what they feel.
So the observer ruling, we are going to leave it as a contest due to the positioning of your bodies. It was the action was happening between you. You're sort of sandwiching it. None of us had a clear view of that. We will send it back as a contest. And then you're going to reset positions at the time of the throw.
So I know you saw my face. I personally felt that it was a clean block. I didn't see a lot of contact. I thought the drop kind of happened in isolation of the defender. What do you think?
I will agree with that. One thing I want to say, I really respect the observer's point. Observers typically are not going to make a ruling unless they are 90% or more positive. So that's, I think, a very good way to resolve this. Also, respect for how quickly that conversation went.
That was head observer Zita Strickland breaking down some of the rules out here. 4-person crew. Gonna go with the green this time, as Wesleyan in the red jerseys find themselves out in red zone offense. Milo Brown, Helmrich on the mark. Trying to initiate Maggie. Maggie working with Milo here. Now Milo getting things over. Jacobson spinning around, looking for Sweet. And Tanamura, not even sure if Tanamura knew that the disc was coming, but just the presence there making things a tad difficult.
You know, that's a tough one. I really like that she turned around and looked for the reset, looked for it early. But Stalkout Rising at least put the disc into a space where there could have been a play, but that's kind of unacceptable. They have to get it off of that sideline in the red zone. To me, that's the first look. You're in that corner. Unless you've got something already coming in position, you swing it off.
Absolutely.
You swing it off on 2.
Milo going around. Sweet very open, but there's probably a reason why.
Constant low-level sound and energy coming from the sidelines. You can hear it.
I'm trying to put Helmrich in the dust now, looking into the end zone for Kayla Harrison. 6'2", Wesleyan.
I love to see that connection. Kayla Harrison has been all over, running, putting pressure, frequently making those red zone cuts, and it hasn't quite connected in other games. So happy on this big stage it's working out.
Wesleyan definitely feeling themselves. They're running through all their cuts. They're running through all their Ds. They're hyped up. The fans are hyped up for them. Get another look at that foul call. Definitely curious what you all at home are thinking about that one. And this turnover, if you are stall 8, stall 9, and you're in the stack, just know that that disc is coming. Try to take a look no matter where you are.
Now, we've talked all weekend about that awareness, right? Of just like internally, disc is thrown. Have a small ticker in your head that's counting. And start looking, be heads up, run deep, make a cut, just be eyes on the disc.
Now, if you're Haverford Bryn Mawr, you're going to be a little, I mean, I would be a little frustrated with that foul situation. It felt like, it feels like a clean D. You know that's important. 6'2" feels very different than 5'3".
But also uncontrollables, right?
Uncontrollable.
You cannot really control fouls when they happen, which direction they go. You have to stay within yourself. You know, that's something that I think we are seeing from Wesleyan, and we talked about with Coach Keith Rayner, one of their mottos being, be here with us. So another way to say, don't be distracted, don't hear what's going on around you, be present, be with each other, be here with us.
Was an offside call, but the Sieges play through it. Sonia Nicholson thought about the hammer, instead finding Eleanor Wheeler. End zone look, reset to Morton.
And swing.
Swings win games, y'all.
Give go action, Morton maybe perhaps trying to reverse the field with a backhand. Gonna go back to the far side, finding Eleanor Wheeler.
And Haverford Bryn Mawr says strikes win games.
It is interesting because strikes to me means go deep. Strikes to me, you mean go up line.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, that is a difference, I will say. Canadian Ultimate, American Ultimate, that strike is a very different word.
That's actually kind of useful.
Is
Because you can be like strike and then
Canadian
they think
Ultimate,
something else.
American Ultimate.
I mean the language, of course.
I mean, internationally, I think Canada has a very different brand of Ultimate.
I was just saying
Spirit-wise.
Americas. Okay,
dang.
we're in the weeds, y'all. We're in the weeds. Nah, but you can hear, again, listen to that periphery noise. You can hear the fans. It's raising the energy. The stands continue to fill in. And you know what? It's part of what makes this moment so special, so unique to any other setting in the rest of the year.
I'm really happy to see Sneetches get another one on the board. I don't have a specific pony in this race. I am just a sports fan, and I love close games, and I've had the privilege to be able to call and watch a lot of really intense games here. It's been super exciting, so I'm really hoping that we can see a couple more breaks back, give us a little bit of a galaxy point for half.
And the fans are going. The teams are hyping up the sidelines. Everyone's on their feet. This is such an electric game.
I don't think it's just Sneetches alumni. I think it's other teams, perhaps from the same region, trying to cheer them on as well.
You know, and that's what you do. Like, if what's happening on the field is not going the way you want to go, you can manufacture that optimism and that energy. I love that that's their headspace right now. Like, don't be down about it. Like, go get that hype and cheer their team on.
Olivia Borden slashing across, and on the underneath is Amelia Platt. 1 goal to her name so far for number 1. Great defensive pressure on the reset from Costanza, drawing that noble matchup. Bunnell finding Nat Sweet. Going to swing it back to the middle of the field over to Maggie Brown.
A lot of separation right now between the stack.
Not a lot of separation there with the defense as Helmreich coming through.
Helmreich just racking up the D's and the pressure. You know, both these teams love playing defense, so good at it.
Reset. Celia Nicholson has it now. After a little under, looking for Madeline Kruckmeyer. Olivia Borden with it on the far side. Shoveling things forward to Sweet. Sweet's thrown that backhand fake a couple times. Don't think it's actually thrown that throw. So if I'm the mark, perhaps not biting on it unless that throw continues to actually, or starts to be released. Another member of Team Green there, that's Carl Nelson giving instruction. Brown, nice cut, putting the defender on the turf. Flat. Finds Noble, but more of a lateral throw, not gaining any vertical yards until now, where Sweet finds the end zone.
You know, Danny, something I want to credit on that point. Maybe you saw it too. You know what set up the space for Sweet to score that goal? The clear by Platt. Was in isolation, could have stayed there, tried for another, instead cleared out and made that lane available in the front of the end zone.
Clearing is such an underrated skill and something that I think is hard to recognize in the moment, how good people are at it. when you're doing tryouts and stuff like that, when you're watching people who know how to clear, they know how to keep their check engaged to allow other people to take space. It's such a high IQ ability and often underrated. Right now we got 7-3 on the scoreboard. The game feels a lot closer than this. It feels a lot more exciting than this. Right now the reset pressure that we're getting from Wesleyan is just really difficult for the Sneetches to be able to handle, but they're still in it.
Yeah, we're seeing the pressure that both of these teams able, and again, we saw it right there. Happens super fast, but Platt clears out, pulls the defense. Sweet putting people to sleep there. Hey.
And doing the good night cheer. It's not good night yet. It's
Yeah,
still
a
good
little
morning.
early for that,
It's a
it
little
feels like.
premature, Sweet.
No, and this is when, Theo, you might have something to say on this, but this is where that mental toughness is so important. Both these teams very conscious that resilience is important, mental toughness is important, and I'd say that on both sides. Haverford Bryn Mawr has done the work on this, tried to create situations. They've said they have the highest buy-in, that just showing up for practices, showing up for each other, spending time with each other, trusting and communicating when they weren't having the best day, they weren't going to be 100% there mentally, and it's all invested into this. Can they come back?
Now, one thing about the Sneetches team right now that I would like to see them do a little bit more, if they can actually reverse the field, if they can flip the field to the other side, it actually makes it easier for their cutters to be able to work off of them. Right now, their cutters, as we mentioned earlier, not quite running through the disc. They look a little bit unsure. It's because the handlers are feeling a little bit tight. They're kind of staring into the teeth of the defense and trying to make something happen with their throws. Whereas if we're swinging the disc, we're moving it laterally, they're able to find more windows, more pockets. It's easier for cutters to be able to get open.
Liv Davis out on offense. Haven't seen number 2 much in white, but been a big cutting presence for them out on the field now. Give and go action with Hulbert and Morton. Cornell providing pressure on the top of this zone look.
Theo, I'm a huge proponent of what I refer to as a rebound line, having a whole second line ready to go if you get broken on offense. Not just in that it develops depth, but also in that it rests your starters. And sometimes you can put a line that's confidence is unbroken out there. Talented athletes that you want on the field.
Anna Bingham getting some shine as well on this line, number 47. Tall receiver for them, hovering down the top left of the screen. Wheeler finds Liv Davis. Hulbert settles in with the disc. Morton up the line. Multiple Sneetches players going to the open side. Now there's just one scooped up by Cotman. Sneetches really content to work on this third of the field right now. And they'll squeeze it in for the score to Wheeler.
That's a big one, but Danny, I have to ask, were you happy with that?
I mean, did just talk about swinging the disc and trying to get it up onto that high side of the field. And at times, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's been a bit broken, but there it worked out for them to kind of squeeze it down that same line. I do think that I like that zone look from Wesleyan a lot. I think it was a little bit, it kind of threw the Sneetches a little bit out of their comfort zone. So we're going to get a look at the zone here. And so if you pause it here, we have the mark is switching often. So we have this mark here is usually going to be a little bit more straight up, but as soon as it gets to the sideline, we end up kind of switching the mark and putting pressure on. So freeze here. So now we have this mark forcing it back into the middle of the field this way. If you look at Noble's doing an amazing job locating where all of these defenders are here and making sure that they're taking away any threats through the middle. So even though they didn't get a turn, they created a lot of passes for this Sneetches team. They were able to punch it in, but it wasn't easy.
It's pressure. We've talked about body shots, that boxing metaphor. That pressure, how much effort they're exerting into this first half, how that's going to pay dividends in the second half because they're having to fight so hard to get back in this game.
You did get that score without Helmreich, Collin, or Costanza on the field, who are all out on the line now. So rested to try to get one of these breaks back. Wesleyan will start the second half on offense.
Massive save by Bunnell.
Throw hanging. Sweet almost there. There's a foul called.
You know, that's an interesting one. I don't know that we had a good look from our initial angle. That's definitely a catch that we've seen Platt make again and again, but you put Costanza in the mix, crazy things can happen. But we are seeing the players trying to come to an understanding. Love this save for Benno, just going up, attacking.
Just for clarity, who's calling the foul? So you're calling foul, so it's an offensive foul, and you're contesting.
Yes.
You're going to leave it contested, send the disc back, or you can come to me?
I'd like to go to.
So the observer ruling is that it is not a foul. So the disc is going to stay a turnover, and then is that a?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So white, you're nope, sorry, red.
Wait, it's a turnover.
Because she's calling the foul and she's not on offense. You're on offense.
Can we call foul on the same play?
You could
I
call
also
up.
felt like
You could both call fouls. Yes.
I did feel like I was being kind of pushed and couldn't catch the disc as well.
Cool. And are you going to contest that foul? Okay. So we also have a defensive foul called contested.
Wait, it's not over.
It's not over. So it's a second foul being called here. This first foul called observer ruling no foul. Observer foul here. Are you guys going to leave this contested or come to me for that as well?
Costanza called the first foul. I thought that maybe the hand signals was an echoing of the offensive foul. Definitely a bit surprised. I think both players were not necessarily holding their position. So I think that this being a turnover makes sense from my perspective.
So it's going to be your disc.
Wow.
And it'll be where the foul occurred, which I think was close to where you were. So yeah, basically no one can move until the disc is checked on the ground, and then you can walk it to the front line and put it into play at the front line.
So here's what I saw, Danny. I think that when Platt went off, Costanza's near shoulder went into the body.
Noble thought about the around. Wesleyan knocking on that door of a halftime score. They get just that. They'll take it to half up 8-4. Canutas Nadil, second goal of the contest.
Man, what an emotional roller coaster. And that's the tough thing about a prolonged foul call, right? Or discussion and of any kind. And then you have to just hit the jets, be ready. And it almost feels like a double victory or a double loss.
Yeah, that foul call is tough for me because, yeah,
Right now the vicious circle's feeling pretty good right now as they have a 4-point leader here at half, and certainly Haverford Bryn Mawr trying to make a run. Not able to get a break so far in this contest as we see the huddle. And Bunnell finding Canutas Nadil for the halftime score as Wesleyan holds an 8-4 advantage.
Was steady pouring, heard it drops if it was meant to be. Chilling in my crib, no doubt. Beat the scenery. Telephone rang, then it stopped before I could answer it. I heard it knock at the door, so I answered it. And with Jermaine, he had a little situation. Beef up on the block, and orthodox to led the confrontation. He said these cats be acting hard on the block.
Halftime scenes here in the women's division final at the 2025 Division III College Championships. Wesleyan up 8-4 on Haverford Bryn Mawr. We were joined by one of their coaches, Yara El-Khatib. Yara, thank you for joining us. We had a great conversation before the game as well, so appreciate you doing that. And as you look at the halftime score the way it is, you saw Wesleyan go up 2 breaks early. What were you seeing from their defense there?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, thank you for having us. And I think defensively, we've seen some of the tightest person defense from Wesleyan in this tournament. And so I think we're, maybe not as used to needing to attack every disc as hard as they're forcing us to. I think that's something that we have continued to improve on throughout the course of the game. And we're hoping to bring that more in the second half.
Now, you talked about working a lot on mental fitness here, and how can you utilize what you've been working on to kind of get your players to feel a little bit hungrier? Because we've seen that hunger from them all tournament long, and it's starting to ramp up. So what can you do to use that mental fitness to bring that in the second half?
Absolutely. It definitely has been a big focus of ours throughout the course of the year, and especially this season. And something that we continue to try and focus on is ourselves. Don't worry about the game, don't worry about the other team, but let's focus on ourselves and what we can do to become our best selves on the field. And that's something that we're trying to channel. A big word for us on the team is pause intensity, so bringing positivity and intensity at the same time. And we might do some deep breathing, some other types of little exercises in this half to try and really bring our best focus for the last half of the game.
Yeah, one of the things that I've loved that I've seen from your team is how much they're interacting with the fan sideline and like building and almost like borrowing that energy to stay hype in the game. How does it feel to have this kind of fan base around you?
It feels amazing. We definitely have a lot of Sneech parents watching in the crowd, which is definitely a big excitement. Zoe's brother is here, and that's really exciting as well. But we, community is one of the biggest aspects of the sport, and it's one of the biggest aspects that we as the Sneeches really embrace. And so that community is not just the community we find within ourselves, but also the community we find in the bleachers and in the fan crowds as well. We are also seeing a lot of teammates from teams that we played yesterday or on Saturday. And so getting to reconnect with those players and have their support in this final, I think, is really important to us. And channeling that energy, as you said, is something that I think is really key in this game, and something that we learned from our game yesterday, actually, against Middlebury. They had their men's team watching as well, and they were bringing a lot of energy. And so, we were going around saying, we're winning on the field, but we might not be winning off the field. Let's channel that energy on the sideline, and that momentum is something we've been trying to bring into this game as well.
Yara, thank you for joining us, and we're looking forward to seeing that aforementioned energy here in the second half. Wish you the best of luck in that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Taking a look at some of the great things that make D3 Ultimate happening. Some of the gear out here as we take a look at the game stats. Looking at the break chances, Danny, 0 for 5 are the Sneeches right now on those opportunities.
Yeah, it's hard to stay in games when you're not able to capitalize on the break chances. As we saw, like a lot of these players are crossing over to both lines, so it's not that these D lines don't exactly have strong offensive players. They absolutely do. But right now, Wesleyan definitely has the edge. Clean, like the holds are the same for each team, but it's the
total number of turnovers versus the total number of break chances. It tells you where these turns are coming from, right? That when Wesleyan's counterattack is getting the disc, they're not giving it back. They're holding it at a much higher percentage.
Now joined by the head coach of the Vicious Circle, that's Keith Rayner. Keith, you're up at half big 8-4, and you started with the huge 2-point run with a couple breaks. What was the defensive focus coming into this contest?
We had a chance to get a look at Haverford and Bryn Mawr both during the season and in some of their games from yesterday, so we had a chance to really plan out how we wanted to match up downfield, and we had a great day yesterday with a lot of defensive intensity, and that really built people's confidence, and that helped kind of solidify the belief in what we're trying to execute. So I think players are playing really disciplined on defense and letting the athleticism and experience that this team has really shine. We want the players to play and make the plays we know how to make, and so we've worked a lot on that, and I think people are really bought in right now.
Now, you did mention that you felt really confident about your own team's defensive pressure. You also said that you knew that the Sneeches will be applying some different zone looks against you. How much did your preparation going into this game lead you to come out with the success that you've had so far?
I think it's very helpful. You get a lot of confidence from having a clear game plan, knowing what you want to execute, and you don't always get that opportunity during the course of the regular season, especially in Division III and in the women's division where there's a lot less tape to watch. We've had an opportunity to utilize the strategic thinking of this team and the captains and some outside resources to help us really codify our plan going into the game, and I think that really helps us feel a lot more confident. We also have played in a lot of wind this season at practice and at tournaments, so we've seen a lot of zone. We've had a lot of chances to work on zone and become confident handling against different looks. And I talk about offensive principles in zones, not like, hey, how do we specifically attack this setup? And I think those principles are shining through because we can use them against every zone.
Keith, thanks. So one of the things I want to highlight, someone we've seen a big game from here and someone that you didn't have until recently, Nat Sweet. How does it feel to have them back on the team and back and part of this action?
Nat's such an amazing leader for the team and has been there through and through, and it was really unfortunate for them to have an injury occur in the fashion that they did, but they have been really diligent about their PT and about being super engaged with the team so that they were able to step on the field and not really feel like they were a step behind. They were already really plugged in to the concepts they were running, and that was especially important because this is my first year with the team, so I'm implementing a lot of new stuff, a lot of new terminology, and they were super ready to jump into the system, and it speaks to their intelligence as a player, and they've been super effective throughout this tournament because they work really hard to implement everything that we talk about.
Keith, thank you for joining us here and giving us some insight into your coaching journey. Wish you the best of luck here in the second half.
Thanks, y'all. Good luck on the broadcast.
We don't need luck, Keith.
We love you, Keith.
Haverford and Bryn Mawr dancing. They're going to have to channel that dancing energy into some breaks as they find themselves down 8-4.
Get the ultimate news you need to know with the Deep Look podcast. I'm Charlie Eisenhood.
And I'm Keith Rayner, and together we bring the games, names, and moments in Ultimate to your podcast feed. We talk Ultimate's biggest news from on and off the field about and with the people making it.
And every week we go live on YouTube. Come join the fun, the trivia, the picks, the analysis, and more Tuesdays at noon Eastern Time.
We'll see you there.
On the grand stage to keep possession. Huge bid, gets the touch. It's a great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease. Throw it the full 80 yards to the field. Are you kidding me? And an incredible catch. You are kidding me. Oh my God! One of the plays of the year.
So welcome back. We are here with a little bit of the action. The Donovan Award here at D3.
Calvin has helped bring the Spider Monkeys to new levels. A team captain in his senior year, Calvin became the first four-time qualifier in Spider Monkey history. Throughout his career, Calvin has exemplified dedication, leadership, and passion. From Richmond, Virginia, Spider Monkeys, the captain, Calvin Shorba. Next up from Whitman College, we want you to meet Kai Kirsch. Starting in middle school, Kai's bag of tricks, throws, and cuts is about as deep as it gets. Kai has been an inspiration to his peers, teammates, and fellow captains. Whitman was thrilled to honor Kai and knew he would be their Donovan hopeful. From right here in the Pacific Northwest, Whitman Sweeps captain Kai Kirsch. Our third finalist is from Middlebury College. Please welcome Max Rogers. Born just down the road in Seattle, Washington, Max will compete in the next final for a title just a short drive from home. A Lakeside High School product and Seven Hills athlete, Max has embodied what it means to be a prankster with his spirit, his competitiveness, and his love for his teammates. From the Middlebury Pranksters, Max Rogers. Next up from Bates College, please welcome Daniel Snyder. Maybe not, Daniel's not here. An ultimate natural since 11. The game means the world to Daniel, and he hopes to do everything he can to spread the joy that Ultimate gives him. A leader for Bates, he has helped to make every player grow into their best version. From Bates College, Daniel Snyder. And finally, from Williams College, Charlie Tantum. A natural athlete, Charlie has received major recognition from Ultiworld as Defensive Player of the Year and Runner-Up Player of the Year in 2024. He's a fierce competitor and an unparalleled leader. Please help to welcome Williams College nominee, Charlie Tantum. And now please put your hands together for your 2025 Donovan Award winner from Bates College, Daniel Snyder. Unfortunately, as you may have survived, Daniel Snyder is not here with us today, but he's here in spirit, we know that. So please give him another round of applause and congratulations to all of our finalists here in 2025. And thank you for celebrating the Donovan Award with us.
So sometimes when the 50-50 winner isn't present, they will redraw it. Do you think that they would do that for the award?
I don't think they would do that in this situation, but I like the thought. Congrats to Daniel Snyder from Bates College winning the Donovan. Really cool. It's often been done online, this award reveal, so really cool to see it done in the final, just like it is in Division I with the Callahan. So really cool. Congrats to the finalists there, Kai Kirsch, Calvin Chorba, and Max Rogers. As Steve mentioned there on the PA, Max Rogers will be in the final, the next one coming up. So you're going to be able to see Max Rogers in action. Both teams have a bit of an extended break here at halftime and trying to find that energy within themselves right now. As Wesleyan holding that 8-4 advantage. Big cheers coming from their direction as they're trying to win their first title in program history.
Yo, the room was steady pouring, heard it drop, this is meant to be. Chilling in my crib, no doubt. Being scenery, telephone rang, then it stopped before I could answer it. I heard a knock at the door, so I answered it. And with Jermaine, he had a little situation. Beef up on the block, and orthodox that led the confrontation. He said these cats be acting hard on the block.
Wesleyan coming on offense here in the second half. You're watching the women's final in Ultiworld. Theo on here with Kelsey Percy, Danny Proby also in the booth. The Haverford Bryn Mawr Sneakers out in the white jerseys need a couple breaks to get back in this contest. And there was an extended break, halftime, normally 7 minutes. This one was 17 minutes for the Donovan ceremony there. Danny, which team does that favor?
I know you'd think that that would favor the team that is up, but in my opinion, they were all vibes ending that first half. It cools you down. Like, I'm colder in the booth here. They must be colder too. I think it actually plays into the hands of Haverford Bryn Mawr.
You know what else I think plays into the hands of Haverford Bryn Mawr? Coming out on defense.
Costanza putting some pressure on Noble. Noble looking into the end zone, putting it on a platter for Canutas Nadil.
That is such a technically difficult throw, and quite frankly, one I would not advise. And an over the shoulder, and the only way it works out is if you sit it down right in front of your player. That's such a difficult read.
Yeah, Noble kind of has that patented classic high release, slightly outside in flick form naturally. So you're going to get another look at it. So it's a little bit higher, it's a little bit above the waist, and it's able to sit right in front. If you do have a thrower that knows how to throw that throw, like the defender is in front. A lot of people will just throw that straight, but if you can get somebody to put that up and over and have it sit, you are just so much more open all over the field. And we talked about this earlier too, about other throws that some players have in their arsenal, but we think all players should. Hammers, scoobers, these high releases, all of these things, if you have these tools in your toolkit, the whole game opens up.
Offhand backhands.
Offhand backhands. Okay, offhand high release flick, which is the throw of the future.
Dirty.
I keep saying it.
But Danny, going back, like, one of the things you'll hear, especially at elementary ultimate, is like, you don't want same third throws. Right, same third hucks at the minimum, because they're so much more difficult to read unless you have that technical proficiency that we just saw. You'd rather see 1/3 off and then you have an angle of attack.
Often the same third hucks, if you can get them to be outside in and they sit, they kind of fade, it's actually harder for the defender now, so it takes a bit of time.
I'm going to say it right now, that's a Keith Rayner special, waiting for the clock to go right to 0. Milo Brown about to pull, had to bring it back in because Rayner sitting with the observer. You often see this in basketball or in football, a coach right by the ref, and instead Rayner going with the timeout. Curious choice coming right out of half like that.
Icing the offense, and you saw Milo Brown just like mid-swing there, about to release it. Like that Keith Rayner, drop the grass, test the wind. Really analyzing.
I do want to call Keith out here. Maybe he'll come for me later, and I'm willing and I'm welcoming it. But I think when your team scores like that, I don't know if that's the time I would do it. I think that I would do that exact move if another team does something super hype. You extend that whole time, you call that timeout right at the end, you get them out of their flow. But right now, I think that maybe that would have impacted his team's flow, but we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe Keith is a superior coach to me, and he can come from my Team Canada coaching spot.
He knows his players well, so perhaps he understands what they might need in this moment. Call and evading the hands of Cornell.
Keith says, nah, Canada too far.
But the health care.
These are the conversations we have off air.
Morton looking for Costanza. That's that same third throw. It's almost a carbon copy of the last score, but this time it's from the Sneeches.
Anything you can do.
I think that, we said this earlier, if you see Costanza cutting, it seems like their throwers can't help it. That was tight. The defense was right there. That throw could not have really been placed anywhere else. That was very precise, excellent response from Haverford Bryn Mawr here.
You know, something I want to touch that's not, we've dissected the throws, but something I also want to touch on, I loved the level of physicality between Middlebury and Haverford Bryn Mawr. But it needs to be mutual, right? We talked about that a little bit. That physicality needs to be mutual. We're seeing a lot of contact, some of those fouls. But again, both players have to be of an accord that is the level they are choosing to play at. And I think we're seeing a couple where some players maybe not as comfortable with that level of physicality.
Haverford Bryn Mawr putting out a pretty strong, I would call it a power line out here. Nicholson's out on the field, Phoebe Hulbert, Clara Morton, Costanza, Erica Collin, Rufus Helmreich. This is, if I was a coach for the Sneakers, kind of a line I would draw as a universe line. So they're certainly sensing the importance of a point like this, down 9-5. Bull rolls just past midfield as Noble. Looking deep, 45 versus 45. It's Bunnell, bringing that one in. Wesleyan has yet to be broken in this contest. But a hand block from Costanza might help with that. But there's a foul. Remember earlier there was a call against Costanza in end zone block.
Okay. So we're playing start on test.
Contested foul. This will remain in the hands of Maggie Brown.
Team 4.
Won a gold medal with the U20 squad back in 2022. Did number 17 in red. Finding sibling Milo Brown. Milo then gets hand blocked. I'm not going to say what some people are thinking in the audience. I'm not going to say it.
Won't say it.
We're not about cliches here.
Yeah, we used them up yesterday.
Celia Nicholson needing something, has Collin coming down the open side. Little around reset to Morton.
This feels like a big one. Theo, this is a really essential, crucial moment. Haverford has to close the gap.
Like we've mentioned, they've yet to be broken as Wesleyan, and now they'll get another chance on offense. Not all the holds have been clean, but have yet to been scored on with their offensive line out on the field. You see Milo and Noble really trying to quarterback this offense. Bunnell going to the deep space. A great run and a huge throw from Milo Brown. The Sneakers having to work the full 70 to get what would be their first break of the game. Hulbert drying off the disc. Conditions warming up slightly. Not as much wind either, Kelsey.
Not as much wind, but it's more of a true up-down, whereas yesterday we were at a bit of a diagonal. So not whatever you threw yesterday, not going to act the same today. What will act the same? A smackdown from Platt.
I think the disc might have got tacoed there. Some of that pressure from Amelia Platt. 4 blocks coming in this game.
Love the height matchup of those two. Still consistently, Haverford Bryn Mawr not running through the disc.
That's been their Achilles heel so far in this contest, I'd say. Been kind of one of the difference makers right now.
You know, and I think playing against slightly less athletic teams, not as much in Middlebury, but like this is the true test. You have to use every ounce of your speed.
Disc was cleated, so now a new one brought into action. Noble retaining possession for Wesleyan. Milo Brown the reset. Then it's over to Maggie Brown. Noble. Goes open side now up the line for Sweet. Sweet looks it off. Now a short reset. They're still working on that close sliver of the field. Perhaps they can change the angle now. Milo looking for Scout Noble. Noble continuing it around to Platt. Platt catch grab.
Beautiful end zone execution. Good things happen when you swing the disc.
Great things happen, and I love that inside look that broke it all open to Milo Brown. But the timing by Noble to get it the next piece across the middle into that far third of the field, and that's what set up the lane for Platt.
When you trust your teammates, that's when you can swing the disc. You trust that somebody else can make that next pass, that somebody else will fill. When you drive, you clear, it shows trust for your team. It's just good team game to be able to do that.
bookends for Platt, and the one who's throwing a lot of these assists for the Vicious Circles is Scout Noble, last year's Division III Women's Rookie of the Year, showing impact in their sophomore season. 5 assists to the name right now for number 27. That was a big one right there. They reversed the field. They were working on that one sliver of that field for a while, and eventually opening it up. That was a lefty throw that kind of started things off with Maggie Brown.
The lefty, and then that break side backhand that just carved around the mark by Noble.
They're definitely ready in their end zone sets. As soon as they catch that reset, they're always ready to make that next pass. They do trust that person's going to be there. They've been practicing that a lot, you can tell.
You know, Keith Rayner liking to say that the team is player-led. He just stands there and looks pretty.
That's a stretch. That's a stretch, Keith.
That's a stretch, but I think
Hulbert, high stall. Morton trying to go up the line on Noble. And a defender coming off the backside. Morton not happy with that contact. That's a very classic dangerous play coming off the back blind side.
If you're watching this at home and you feel tempted to kind of go in for those, if you know that that receiver is going up line and they can't see you, you got to pull out of that. You have the vision, you have the ability to know that that's about to be quite a dangerous spot to be in. You got to pull out of it. Hopefully everyone's okay.
And you are number 13?
It doesn't mean anything. You're so fine. I wanted that.
The first one's a warning. Uncontested dangerous is the card, but first one's a warning.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we've great up moment in that experience. You're not going to do that again. So we are going to restart here from a check though. So that'll be you're the cleanest defender. So nice loud 3, 2, 1, and then disc in,
okay.
And then everybody can move. Go ahead, check when ready, please.
yeah, so good spirit there. Recognition that was a dangerous play. It's a blind spot. Play will continue.
Costanza looking for Wheeler. Wheeler was checking for someone on the back, and it was Davis. Teammate not able to grab it. It was a bit of contact and then went to the turf.
I do want to highlight these throws not going to the spaces they should. That's part of what's creating these dangerous situations. That upline throw, in my opinion, went too far, and that throw again going over.
Harrison looking for Kanutas Nadil. 2 hands, has Cornell going deep. Pointing, shooting. Drawing some O's from the crowd as the right hand not able to catch that one.
I love that motion by Kanutas Nadil. No, don't go straight, cut back and then sends it out to space. It's a great look, maybe just a little bit too much sauce. Remember, there's been stronger wind, it's coming down. That might have been a throw dialed for the previous higher amount of wind.
There's some D-up cheers from the sideline. Gonna usher in this Wesleyan defensive line. Davis under the pressure of Harrison. Costanza has Wheeler going. Cornell trying to provide some defense and does so with a 2-handed block.
That's such a tough one. When you've got that kind of mismatch on height, even with the help, send it out in front. Make it a speed matchup instead of an air ball.
But even a 2-on-1, that can be a tough decision, even if you do have a height mismatch. Having one person be able to play under, one person be able to play deep.
But some of it also this Wesleyan help defense mentality, right? Playing defense as a team.
Sweet throwing this one. It's gonna pop up. Raskin trying to get under it, but it's Harrison instead.
Little MMA action here on the fields today. Ultimate Frisbee, right? Not fighting?
That would be an interesting name for a league.
What? You're gonna call foul?
Tough when, as we said earlier, when these throws hang, sometimes plays like this just happen, and it's not necessarily that the players are intending to make contact or to pile up like this, but sometimes when it hangs, you just see the Frisbee, and that's all you see.
Yeah, you can see they're just locked in to the disc. in some ways, I do think it's very incidental, just everyone going for it. And exactly as you're saying, incidental to, it not being a well-executed throw.
Yeah, that's why they call those hospital passes. Sometimes
For a reason.
You want to call dangerous play on the throw sometimes because it's putting players in a position to make contact and not be able to see each other.
Just tough following that second one so tightly.
It's like a second yellow card being given here.
Out of the game now. Oh, sorry. So 2 yellows does result in that red. Okay.
So red card issued.
Okay, so you'll need to go ahead and exit off. We'll have a sub come in as well. Okay, thank you.
Rookie Sasha Raskin, second yellow cards will be taken out of the contest. New Jersey product, not going to be able to play the rest of this game.
Kelsey, I'm curious. It did seem, we said incidental, it did seem like a lot of the players didn't see each other. How do you feel about this call? I think it's happening fast for the observers as well. I would like to get another look at it, but that's a tough one.
To me, it's a tough line to walk. My understanding is that, I'll call it league-wide, nationwide, observers are trying to minimize dangerous play. So like set precedents and standards. Maybe here's what I'm saying of, when you have forward momentum and you have a player coming back into that space, I think what the observer might argue here, not being one, is that is the player's responsibility to find other players also, not just focus on the disc. Complex, right? This is a really, really complex ball. My heart hurts for Raskin. She's got an incredible heart. We've seen that play out. And yet I am all for the support of, holding players to dangerous play, holding players accountable to that.
Is the stoppages we might have forgotten, but this is a break chance for the vicious circles. Mine's certainly tightening up. You see a lot of Sweet, Milo Brown, and Noble out on the field. Cornell as well. Platt up the line, looking for Sweet. Not in. Trying to flip it to Platt, very dangerous. But it's caught, and they're up 11-5. First break of the second half for the team from Middletown, Connecticut.
Sweet to the end zone for Amelia Platt.
Now, if you're Wesleyan, I think sometimes when you have something happen on the field, like a double yellow turning into a red card and a player being ejected from the game, it can kind of spook you. It can kind of make you play with your shoulders up towards your ears a little bit more. So the fact that even though it wasn't pretty at the end, the fact that they were able to still punch in this break shows a lot about their mental resiliency. And I do want to just talk a little bit about the double yellow. The first one, I feel, is a textbook dangerous play. The second one is so tough because it's so on the thrower. I know you need to be able to see where you're running and not just run blindly, but it is a bit of a tough situation. So my heart does go out. A tenacious defender, played so well all tournament long, and should hold her head really high. I know we're learning from these moments. These are learning moments.
And I'll echo something that I'm seeing in our Discord chat of it truly felt like bad luck. It's pretty rare that things like that happen back to back. And one other thing I'll say, back to back in such a short span of time, it has to be just top of mind on the observers. I'm not talking down about it, but that's, I'm feeling the conflict. How must they feel to be in that position? I think we are so blessed to have the skilled, calm observers that we do, the observers operating at this level. But these spaces played this fast at this level of effort can become dangerous. It is an effort to protect the players themselves.
Yeah.
Stands up the line. Colin. That was the intended target, but it's Cornell, another block.
Susanna Cornell with the takeaway.
Cornell just going to town. Colin has been so effective in so many situations, and that Wesleyan had an answer.
Helmreich's gotten a couple blocks in this contest. First-year player, trying to get on the Rookie of the Year podium, perhaps. And that will help the cause with a nice throw. Finding Anya Kottman.
And you saw a moment of You've got to wait, right? You've got to wait for that score before you throw away the disc, before you spike it, before you celebrate. These big moments that these players, their first time to the big show.
Yeah, it's a bit of that delayed gratification. The amount of times my team have gotten cards because we rushed the field too early because you're not used to having observers. It's hilarious. You're just trying to delay that gratification, delay that celebration a little bit.
I'm going to try to make the situation a bit light. But is there a shipping container nearby?
Oh my God, I was just thinking it. But maybe they can go onto one of the roofs at the houses. So to talk a little bit about that ejection and whether you need to leave the vicinity of the game, I do believe it depends on the specific context of the red card. Like in this circumstance, it's not like a taunting, it's not like a physical alteration type card situation. So it maybe not having to leave the field has something to do with that.
You know, I want to add one more thing to that yellow card, red card situation. Danny, you've talked all weekend about shoulder checking. I think that's the missing piece that we're looking for here that might separate a rookie from a veteran, of that ability to keep situational and spatial awareness while honing in on the disc.
Absolutely.
The line, Milo Brown working against Helmreich. Milo looking for sibling Maggie. Right hand snag just outside the end zone. Big catch from Maggie Brown. A lot of congestion, a pick called. Call and tangle up Helmreich and Wesleyan's Milo Brown.
Everything downfield good. Whenever you're ready, loud. 3, 2, 1, disc.
And perhaps a gift here. Sometimes you see it off the timeout. Players get a little trigger happy, and we saw some miscommunication there. Break opportunity. They've had a couple in the second half at the Sneakers, but not able to cash in at all throughout the whole game, not just this half. Helmreich trying to make a sliding save, not able to. Stanza bidding all over the field. Hanging throw swatted by Morton. He's getting a little bit testy in some parts of this game. Definitely some more contact.
Well, Theo, we've already said there's a high level of physicality, but emotions are high. Big stakes game. We've had some really contentious things occur.
This would be big if they can get it. Looking for Colin. Haverford Bryn Mawr gets the break to the cheers of the fans across the sideline. Colin is pumped up. First break for the Sneeches. The momentum that they need.
So I know that there's a little bit of conversation happening about what happens to players when they do get a red card, and the rules have been updated over time. And my assumption was based on the fact that we still saw the ejected player on the field, but the rules have been updated since, well, 2014 was the original rule where they could stay if they wanted to, or could stay based on context, but they do need to be a certain distance away from the playing field.
So I want to pivot back. Electric moment. The sidelines exploded. Fans just up and on their feet. And Colin has been this player for HBM, right? We saw the smackdown in the first half. Someone who just creates and brings that energy. You know, first year with this team, but an experienced player in this with St. Olaf, has been at the big stage, and someone who can really bring that confidence and that centeredness in this moment when they have to fight back.
I love me a kick spike, and I love it more in slow motion. That's all I'm going to say. All region this year in Ohio Valley, but also been all region with St. Olaf in the North Central.
And that stat line, I don't think, accurately represents the impact of Colin on this game.
The fans are cheering because a turnover for the Vicious Circles. Momentum clearly on the side of this Haverford Bryn Mawr team, but can they really channel it right now and get the second straight break? Wheeler thought about looking for Costanza in the end zone.
You know, and here's the danger of having a significant lead. Can you keep your pedal on the gas all the way through? Because a couple big moments. Oh, but smackdown D. Bunnell just comes up big again.
I think that was in the middle of about to throw. Wasn't sure on the decision from Wheeler, resulting in that turnover. Off the back, helping out is Sweet. Sweet has Cornell going deep. Seela Nicholson trying to find the disc. It's Cornell who does. Needs a reset, looking for Sweet. Southpaw in the end zone, line. Brown trying to shake free of Morton. Great defense from 33. But then at the last second, a high stall throw is caught by Milo Brown, but there is a stall call. Sonia Nicholson on the mark.
Okay, retracted call.
Wow, what awareness. Sweet had the disc for a really long time, and the franticness of Wesleyan. They've been so much more poised in the red zone, but not able to put together multiple options for Sweet. Defense did such a good job of making that extremely difficult, but just put up a playable throw, right?
It could be so frustrating if you're the Sneetches to play such good defense, to know they're getting to stall 8, stall 9, and to have that play still work out. We are feeling a little bit of, I don't want to say that the Wesleyan seems spooked, but you definitely feel a little bit more urgency, a little bit less calm, and it is echoed by not only the fans we got, but we got car alarms going off. We got this atmosphere is just becoming a lot more intense here on the field, and I'm living for it.
I thought I was just hearing in my brain, but you can hear that, right? That's real life?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you might be hearing other voices in your brain, Theo, and I'm not there for you there, bud.
That also is true, certainly. As we see Wesleyan Niche Factor trying to usher on the Vicious Circle side here. They're pumped up.
We are getting closer, Theo. 12-7. Does it feel like an insurmountable mountain to climb at this point in the match?
I feel like Sneetches are just building their momentum. They're building their confidence at the right, well, before it's too late, let's say.
Davis chopping the feet, trying to come under, but Maggie Brown in pursuit. So having to go to another option is Wheeler, finding Morton. Morton been a key cog of this offense from the backfield. Looking for Helmreich, but it's Cornell.
Cornell having the game of her life, just coming up big time and again. The first half it was really shutting down Colin, and now being called to make the helm right.
Colbert is not going to contest the foul call.
So defense,
Your
just a
face
nice
looks
loud
surprised,
3-2-1. Everybody downfield set.
I think that throw was going a little bit more out of bounds than a toe-in would have been made possible, but we'll have to get a second look at that. Noble will retain possession for the Vicious Circles. A break opportunity for this side in red. Give and go action back to Noble.
Noble has been the commander of this counterattack.
Noble looking for Sweet. And that's going to work out 13-7.
And you saw the break almost done. Helmreich was there, just centimeters away from making a play on that, but Sweet stayed focused, brought it in. What an incredible performance from Wesleyan, just pouring on the effort, the breaks.
Yeah, it's leading the Wesleyan defense is Cornell. 5 blocks so far this game. Feels like more. Feels like more. Just owning that deep space, owning the air.
Just Feels like that break opportunity that Haverford Bryn Mawr had a couple points ago was huge, not able to generate a score in their opponent's red zone. Cornell been a big part of this D-line, getting multiple blocks, catch blocks, smackdown blocks, you name it, you're seeing it from 38.
I love that from Manel, and I think that's what we're seeing, this team-wide effort, right? This consistency, they're hunting in the lanes, they are converging on the spaces anytime there's something that's perhaps contested. Mad respect for this Wesleyan team and the absolute defensive clinic they're putting on.
I don't know how you adjust your offense when they're not only owning the underspace by getting these run-through blocks, but they're also owning the deep space as they are. It's pretty hard for Sneetches to find any amount of separation anywhere on the field at this moment.
Sneetches calling that timeout. They're their first of the half. If you look at their huddle right now, Kelsey, you wouldn't think they're down the scoreline the way it is.
No, and that's something we heard from the coaches of, like, they want to stay loose. They do best when they're having fun. That's something we've seen from a lot of the top teams here at Division III, is just this desire to play for each other, to keep playing and having fun, to not get lost in the intensity of the moment. Yes, play hard, yes, play well, but at the end of the day, walk away having enjoyed this moment.
This Wesleyan team only has 3 losses on the year. Those were all to Division I teams, including 2 to a Division I qualifier in Georgia. And they faced this Haverford Bryn Mawr squad twice at a tournament early on in February, or early on in the season, I should say, winning twice by 2 goals. So these teams have seen each other, but of course things evolve throughout the season. Noble, 6 assists to her name, set to pull. Just a sophomore. This team has 10 seniors, but some of the underclassmen are really going to be important as they continue moving forward for this program.
You know, something I'll echo for Haverford Bryn Mawr as well. First day of pool play when Costanza was the only senior here, an emphasis from the coaches, especially Yara El Khatib, of throwing to their non-prime players, not the first go-to, playing to the depth. Again, just wanting to step up as a whole team and really invest into their future. And recognizing the leadership of Costanza being willing to do that and take those maybe harder shots to less confident players.
Oh, looking for it up the line, finding Sonia Nicholson. Big hold.
Big hold. As we say, Danny, they made half. Made it to half.
They made it to half. I did feel like Sneetches were running way more close to their 100% there in the lanes. They were actually generating a lot more separation. It looked like the throwers were able to be a lot more confident putting them out into space, and the marks were not quite there right away.
You know, and if they're going to catch Wesleyan sleeping, do it. Take it. Take that point. And now what do they get to do? Their favorite thing in the world, put their D-line out there and go be aggressive.
Now, if you are calling the defensive set, knowing that there's 17 minutes left in regulation for this game, would you play your zone? Would you try to create some sort of defensive scheme that would get a quick block? What do you think?
Person, and maybe a junk for like 2 throws to create some chaos, and then hard person after that. You want it to go quick, and you want to optimize and pressure.
Yeah, doing anything that will cause a lot of passes, something that's going to be slow, is not exactly the strategy you want to be using at this moment. You got 8 points. You need to get a bunch more. So you got to get some quick momentum. You got to get a quick stuff and score.
Sonia Nicholson set to pull. Morton's out on this field. A lot of the players have been playing some O-line as well. Wheeler's been a big addition for them and made some big impact also out there. Holbert on the mark of Canutus Nadil. Finding Noble. Noble's throw was taken away by Colin. Colin bringing the smiles, but that smile will get bigger if they can actually cash in this break to reduce the lead to 4.
Love that clear by Colin, opening up that lane underneath.
Holbert's throw had Morton if she looks for another second as Milo Brown had hit the turf, slipped on the field. Milo Brown been a bit quiet. It's been a lot of Scout Noble slinging the disc right now for Wesleyan. And I'm sure they're okay getting contributions up and down the roster.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. They have the depth.
Will needing a reset. Sonia Nicholson, with some great reset pressure. And it's a turnover. Wheeler finding Colin, who had the block earlier for the first turnover for Wesleyan on this point. It's been 2 now. Holbert up the line. What a layout! Keeping possession. A few yards away is Holbert. Morton slipping and falling as well on the field. Now it's Colin as they look to settle things down. Around the horn. Big grab from Celia Nicholson, and that's a break.
That is an amazing break from HBM. I love the effort on that save, but the clearest consistencies. I was about to say I was concerned that Haverford Bryn Mawr didn't have the legs to lead this counterattack, but Colin coming in with that beautiful swing setup to get things in the red zone, and the poise to have made that huge bid, take a breath and not try to throw it immediately. Wait for a good throw. I'm so impressed.
I know we talked about needing to do the stuff and score, get that quick block and that quick score. There were a couple turns there, but that actually didn't take that long. So we're gonna...
Reminder, there is no hard cap in this final, so you have to score the final point to win. We love that. Look at that layout from Holbert, the concentration.
Incredible shot from Nathan Kolakovic there. Putting Holbert on a poster.
The sidelines are fired up. The team is fired up. Feels like this is their moment.
Same exact line for the Sneakers, except for Helmreich has come on for Morton. Otherwise, it's the same grouping for the Sneakers. Similar suspects on offense like Cornell, Noble, Maggie Brown, Milo Brown, and Nat Sweet. Amelia Platt is out there, and Kayla Harrison is your 7th player on the field for the Vicious Circles. Horizontal stack pull play, eventually finding the hands of Maggie Brown. Looking like a forced middle from the Sneakers here as Noble putting up this backhand. Platt grabs it. Second effort. Trying to get a reset off, finds Noble. That was tight. Sweet going up the line. Pick called though.
Such a tight window. Platt, an incredible athlete, but not fully comfortable with her throws. Always looking for an immediate reset, and that was a very small space for Noble to try to get open in.
Looking in the end zone, Costanza coming off the stack, making a safe play, not making any contact, swatting it down.
That momentum still building for Haverford Bryn Mawr. This is a huge opportunity, and they have the personnel on the field to make it count. Can they get out of their own end zone?
Holbert, last year's Defensive Player of the Year. Got the disc in the hands, but a stoppage will halt the action.
And pinned by the large mark of Cornell.
Leo Nicholson looking for Costanza. Sweet is there. No foul called. Block from Sweet. Looking right into the end zone. Kayla Harrison is there. The Vicious Circles 1 point away from a title.
Cornell a little slow to get up, but another just prime example of this. Kind of help get the extra body there, keep focused on it. Cornell went high point, didn't make it, but pulled the defense. And then you have Harrison able to clean it up. Fantastic effort and focus. Still contact heavy in this Dion Costanza, but Sweet striking immediately towards the end zone.
if you are a shorter player and you see the disc go up like that, sometimes if you just sit on the outside side of it there, you're going to be able to get a lot of the tips, a lot of the bobbles. We call that garbage collection. It could have a nicer name than that, but being there in those points, it's not necessarily that you're bringing your defender in and you want to leave them one-on-one. You got to get in there, because sometimes when it's a pile-up, discs pop or people misread because of wind, and you can get some easy goals that way.
The closest this Vicious Circles team has gotten to a title was second all the way back in 2017. That's where they stand right now on game point, up 14-9.
Now both teams have been electing to not do as many zone looks in this later part of the game, really trusting in their person defense. Both teams doing forced middles and really mucking things up, but big plays are happening all over the board.
I love the smiles from Haverford and Mar. They are here, they're having fun, they're celebrating together. Yes, they're down, yes, it's game point, but they're here to play.
Wheeler, big snag. No Morton on the field. Looks like kind of a senior line. Hinsdale has not gone in the game yet and is a senior. And that throw is going to be called a foul by Costanza. Ella Evans as well, a senior on the team, is on the field. Same thing with Anna Bingham.
Pretty clear cut, foul, no contest. Again, I like that so many of these have been quickly resolved. Big opportunity here. Haverford and Mar could put on another.
Albert, that is a good grab. Keep possession and the game alive for the Sneetches. Pick is called. Coaching staff for the Sneetches: Liz Hart, Linda Morse, Yar El Khatib. The really heartwarming choice to me, running with this senior line with a must-score offensive point.
Nice poach there from Milo to cut off that inside lane.
Stanza gonna rip it out of the air. Thought about the hammer, making the defender turn around, and then short arms the upline flick.
I think I would have preferred the hammer.
Always.
You said hammers win games, right, Danny? I think that's what you said.
Hammers win games, Hucks wins games, layouts win games. Oh.
Janelle had turned on the Jets.
Would have loved to see her leave her feet there, but a lot of game left to play.
With no Morton on the field, Costanza might be back in the handler space. This horizontal stack set. Open under the pressure of Milo Brown. Great grab from Wheeler. Got the wheels on. Anna Bingham.
A lot of these throws trailing high. They need to stay focused.
Trapped on this side a couple times. We saw the potential hammer from Costanza. Instead, it's Wheeler going up the line. That resulted in a turnover, but they have now had a second life. Going around, finding Anna Bingham. Senior connection.
Senior line, senior connection. Put up one more on the board. Theo, this game is not over yet.
Defensive pressure of Wesleyan still there, but the biggest difference is that the Sneetches team really hyped up right now. They're running at full speed. They're using their legs.
And Anna Bingham hasn't been getting a ton of playtime. Someone they put in, I think, in that like honor roll senior, but making the big play, cutting to the space, trusting their systems, comes up with a score in the national final.
That is a very difficult thing to do. For all of you listening at home, I know I've experienced this. When you're not getting in the game a lot, it's hard to step onto the field when you're a little cold and be able to make big plays. And we saw just a prime example of how you can really rise to that moment and still make big plays.
Bingham was one of those players that had missed day one. So getting onto that graduation stage and now on the championship final stage, making an impact.
Still a lot of ground to cover. Wesleyan with an imposing 4-point lead. This is game point for them. Can their O-line get it done, or will the energy, the momentum continue Haverford Bryn Mawr's way?
This is a power line we saw before. Helmreich is on the field, so is Collin and Morton after sitting off that senior line point.
They're rested.
Isolating Platt in space. No Milo Brown on the field right now. Nor Maggie Brown. Noble, quarterback, gunslinger. No one going deep though. There is a call, so halt that block for now. There is a call. There was a travel called a couple throws ago.
Okay. I think that you took a step. So, yeah, you can have it as a contest. What was the stall count at the time of the travel? 7? So we'll be coming in on stalling 6.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Okay, so we have a travel.
If you're a Wesleyan
We're
fan
coming
here.
in on stalling 6. We're starting with the check here.
Do not clear through the middle, please. Possession staying with business circle. Scout level with the desk.
You hear the do not clear from through the middle from Coach Keith Rayner. Force middle, that's what they want. They want you to throw through the middle. They want, those marks are forcing you to throw it to the inside, and you put your best defenders camping in that middle space. You're getting turns like that.
It's a little late contact there from Knut Snedell. I think got caught on the cleat perhaps, but saying it's my fault.
Sonia Nicholson has Helmreich going deep, thought about the big high release flick. Reset to Morton. Morton, they're trying to go up line, but Holbert looking at the deep space instead. Bobbled, almost caught by Collin. Some discussion to be had with Costanza and Kanutas Nadell, excuse me.
Is there a call over here?
I think that there's a lot of context, and I just wanted to talk about it for a second. Like, it felt like your body was pushing into me as I was going up for it. Okay. I feel like your body was going into me. I feel like we just were right. But I think that I had a step on you, so you were pushing me from behind. I feel like you were ahead of me. I came from the side, and I made a play for the disc. And I think since we were so close and going for it at the same time, we made incidental contact. Okay, I'll retract the call. No call.
Okay, and just hold up a second. I just
Foul call.
Right, and there's no other calls.
Retracted.
In a
Yeah,
moment,
the picks are turned perfect.
it's a
So
final.
retracted call.
Your back's against the
And
wall.
then we'll, go ahead and
For
check it.
Costanza to be able to make a call, feel contact, listen to the perspective of the other player, and retract that call shows why Costanza is beloved in this division. The leadership, the spirit is absolutely incredible.
A couple retracted calls is fine.
And they're absolutely the right call there. I think, again, benefit of replay, but perhaps high stall situation.
I think Costanza was going to get the block, but Helmreich will be credited swooping through.
Well, it's so tough to throw flat-footed like that.
Costanza laying out, can't get there. Kanutas Nadell going deep, sweet, faking the backhand.
And the pressure of the moment. This is game point for Nationals. But probably not going to one and done it, right? Be willing to grind. And Wesleyan almost looking a step slow right now, kind of jogging to get in position. I'm guessing that was a high stall situation. Look, dump. Everyone kind of locked in, and so sends it deep, at least taking field position advantage.
Third turnover on this offensive point for the Vicious Circles. Meaning a third break opportunity here. However, Bryn Mawr has had 2 breaks. And reminder for those maybe just joining us, you have to score the final point to win. You can't have the losing team scoring the final point. So no hard cap in this final. Could make for a very exciting finish as Haverford Bryn Mawr trying to ushering in the comeback. Morton really casual behind catch. Looking for Helmreich. Not in, has Costanza near. Costanza grabs it, that's a break.
Absolute dot of a throw. Just that flick out into space, allowing for an easy end zone. It was a 2-on-1 there to finish out that point.
Not one, 2 breaks here, and the value of having rested players, right? Trusting their senior line, putting them out there, giving them opportunity. Now let the young legs go to work.
Would you put the seniors back out again?
Ooh, spicy. I like it.
It was pretty hype. It was pretty hype.
It was hype because Anna Bingham really sparked the team with that celebration. I want to highlight something back that happened the second point out of the second half, which is Keith Rayner, the coach of the Vicious Circles, calling a timeout really early as they got a hold out of half. Now they only have 1 left late in this game.
It's a favorite pastime is critiquing Keith Rayner on air on Ultiworld.
I'm just saying.
Don't come for us, Keith.
It could be any coach, and I would have said that. Now they only have 1 timeout in the back pocket.
This game could be extending well beyond the allotted regulation time.
This feels very power line-like for the Vicious Circles. Platt, Sweet, Cornell, Milo Brown, Scout Noble, Maggie Brown, and Kanutas Nadil.
They don't want it to get any closer, but there is a risk. You play too much top-end talent too often. You get closer, they run out of gas, right? We're starting to see more fatigue. This is a team that's supposed to have a lot of depth. You need to lean into that depth.
Sweet to pick up. Nicholson's out on the field on defense, same with Erica Collin. Of course, Costanza on the field, gonna take the Platt matchup.
We have a foul call.
Did you have a...
I think I might have said 1.
Okay, first number you say is 2. Whenever you're ready, you'll do a nice loud 3, 2, 1 check. Coming in 2.
Catch under pressure, 2 versus 2 battle. Force middle look from this HBM side. But Wesleyan inching closer to a title. Platt. Running Kanutas Nadil. Sweet going up the line. Resets. Looking for Sweet. And how sweet it is! The Vicious Circles, first time in program history, are national champions.
Here in this Women's Division Championship game. Wesleyan Vicious Circles 15. Haverford Bryn Mawr Sneeches 11. Great game, everybody.
You can see the emotion. You can feel it. What an incredible moment. So well earned. They set themselves up for success with a first half of brilliance, pouring on the pressure from the onset. And in spite of an incredible run from Haverford Bryn Mawr, the pressure, the poise there in that red zone, playing through their full line. Players stepping up, and you see just the expression of victory there. What an incredible win for this Wesleyan team.
Now, Sweet having the game of her life. 3 goals, 3 assists, 3 blocks. After coming back from injury, just like incredible heart shown, incredible composure. Speaking of composure and heart, this whole squad has been so great from the beginning of this tournament straight to the end. Just excellent all around.
Undefeated showing here for the Vicious Circles. They are national champions. That's right, if you're a Wesleyan fan in the audience, I'll say it again for you. National champions for the first time in program history, joined by their leading assist leader, that's Scout Noble. 6 assists on the day. Scout, you are a national champion. Put that into words, what that means to you.
It's such an incredible accomplishment. I'm so proud of this team. They've worked so hard. And every single one of them deserves this win, whether they were on the field or on the sideline. My entire heart goes out to this team. They've worked so hard.
Scout, such a physical matchup. Both teams, tons of athletes, really interesting systems. How did it feel, that physicality, those matchups? What do you remember from the game?
Yeah, I think that there was definitely some contact in that game, but I felt like the spirit was really high. I know both of those teams were so thrilled to be here, so thrilled to be playing this sport. It means so much to everyone on the field. And when there were calls, I feel like they were worked out really kindly and respectfully and honestly, and even in those really high pressure situations, which means a lot. I've been playing this sport for 10 years, and that's the ultimate difference to me.
All right, so we talked with your coach before the game, and he was talking about the "Be Here With Us" motto. How did you come up with that? How did that play into how you performed today?
Yeah, I think that the idea with that is just to stay with your team, that these people are really the people who are supporting you. They're your friends, they're your teammates. We've traveled together, we've played together, we've trained together, and to play for us, that every moment we get on the field has been another moment that we get to play together, and every moment that this season extends has been more time that we get to spend with each other. And so when we cheer that we're going to be here with us, we are taking every moment to just cherish the time that we have together.
Scott, we're going to let you be there with your team right now
Thank
as
you
they
so much.
celebrate. Thank you for joining us, and congrats on being a national champion.
Thanks.
What a game here, Kelsey and Danny. A contest for the ages here, and head coach Keith Rader, he's celebrating right now. Great plays from both sides. Phoebe Hulbert's layout, that was picturesque right here. Haverford, Bryn Mawr, they tried to make a game of it, but Wesleyan too strong in the end.
Incredible effort. Theo, I loved this game. I loved the heart that Haverford Bryn Mawr showed, but what a dominant performance by Wesleyan. They played with their legs, they played with their bodies, they put on so much pressure, and against a highly talented Haverford Bryn Mawr side.
You noticed that this Wesleyan team did such a great job of knowing the strengths of their opponent and playing into that. They took away the best matchups, they really put pressure where they needed to apply pressure, and they changed up the game plan whenever they needed to. Just adaptable, incredible.
The Wesleyan Vicious Circles national champions, they win 15-11.